Hey guys, it's Minerva by Craft Vanguard deck profiles. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and sorry. This time we're covering the Genesis clan from DZ Set 9, Keter Sanctuary with Minerva at the forefront, who got a wonderful evolution in the form of the Grade 4 Minerva, which is honestly pretty cool, and I kind of hope they do Grade 4s like this more often. So let's go ahead and search out what we got, because honestly, I didn't like Minerva when she first came out. I felt the deck was too complicated, but also didn't feel right for me, and then after playtesting it once right before new Minerva came out, then after playing new Minerva, I'm like, yeah, I actually like this deck now, so let's get this started. First today we have a ride deck crest. It's our energy generator. You may only have one ride deck crest in your ride deck. Auto ride deck, when you ride, put this card to your crest zone, even when second and charge 3. Continue to spend a 10 energy, auto begin your ride phase and charge 3, and act once per turn energy about 7 draw card. On pretty solid, you get a free 3 energy every turn. Even when second, you get an extra 3 on top of that. And if you ever have 7 more energy at once, you can energy about 7 to draw a card. Most of the times you'll never use that though, because there's a card in this deck that does cost 3 energy, but thankfully that card that does cost energy uses that energy to draw, so not like you're losing out on anything anyways. So it's a nice ride deck crest to have. Moving on to our starter, we have Vivid Rabbit, Grid Zone Boost, 5k shield, 6k base. On a rope second draw card, standard starter, and plus free draw if you go second. You can make this any starter you want. None of the ride line requires this, but it's nice to have more Genesis units for name, especially because there are ways to either pull Genesis units out from Soul or pull them out from drop zone. So this thing does end up in drop zone, you can, or stay in Soul, you can put it back into your hand to therefore use for discard cost of either Minerva. So it's nice to have just in case for that reason, but again, this can technically be any starter you want, so one of Vivid Rabbit in the ride deck. Moving on to our Overtrigger, we have our Overtrigger and Light Dragon DD Armor's Armatinoa, Grade Zone Boost, 50k shield, 5k power, Overtrigger, Overtrigger in your deck, or add trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose a means to plus a movement for the turn, and if you do a drive check, activate its discard, which until end of turn. You can also perform drive checks for the battle's rear guard attack. On pretty solid, so you get the ability to do extra drive checks. In this deck, 9 times out of 10, that's just going to only be an extra 2 drive checks, but possibly if you have an Angelic on your board, you'll end up getting 3 extra drive checks, which is still pretty solid because your Vanguard also has inherently triple drive, so 6 drive checks overall, making it for a very powerful over. You can make this vulnerable for more consistent multi-attacking, or as Fourier for extra crit pressure and recycling, or if you want more multi-attacking, you could also use the Dark Overtrigger as well for superior healing as well. But I prefer Armatinoa because I like doing drive checks. It's fun to pull it off, and I also like running the nation respective Overtrigger. So one of Armatinoa. Following that, we have our normal triggers. 3 of our front and Bard of Heavenly Song Alpac, Grid Zone Boost, 50k shield, 4k base. Contains Guard Sword, opponent's Vanguards are great 3, get a 5,000 to the shield. Like I said in the Ezel build, in the original version of this deck, there was 4 front triggers in here, but I only ever saw like one of them at a time. And then after putting it down to 3, suddenly I see them a lot more consistently. The math on that doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. So 3 of Alpac for, you know, front, pumping up the numbers, especially because your board is always going to restand or multi-attack. Only that, we have a total of 8 crit, 4 being White Fang Witch Disma, Grid Zone Boost, 50k shield, 5k base. This can make it any crit you want, so to make it Disma because her being a witch makes her feel like a Genesis card, so there you go. Then we have 4 Blade Feather Dragon, Grid Zone Boost, 50k shield, 4k base, critical trigger, auto rear guard, about that it boosted, shovel to soul, choosing to give it 2k for the turn. You can afford to make this a vanilla crit, but there are occasions where I do run into soul problems, and by occasions I mean like it comes up every game, but it's not technically a problem, but it makes me feel uncomfortable because I feel like if I got one more restand, then I would be into a soul problem, even though that's only if I got another restand. So I like having Blade Feather just in case, but you can afford to make this a vanilla crit, but I choose to make it Blade Feather anyways. And then we have 4 heal and circling sorceress, Grid Zone Boost, 50k shield, 5k base. You make this any heal you want. I chose to make a circling sorceress because it's the heal I pair with Disma, and typically I always have like a crit and heal pair, so if I run one of them, I gotta run the other, and that's the pair here. So total 8 crit and 3 front for overall offensive pressure, and the 4 heal for obviously recovery. Moving on to our grade 1s, we start off with our PG, telling you that the other grade 1s of the deck are all at 4 copies. So first up, we have 4 copies of Paladinium Zeal Dragon, grade 1 boost, 0 soul, 6k base, continue essential for Sentinels in deck, and also put on Guard Circle, choose it means it cannot be hit in the battle. If your hand stream or cards, you to card from hand and discard it. Standard PG, nothing to specify because it means if this is only 1 of cards in your hand plus on Guard Circle, you don't have to discard. It's great, because that means you'll be super aggressive in the early game. Pretty much, you only really start spamming stuff on your grade 3 turn, but if you want to spam early, you can do these 2 and maybe this, and then, you know, throw on the PG when your opponent does eventually counterattack you. But once you start throwing hands, you start throwing hands. So if your opponent's EB starves you, go with the card from your hand, and then PG when you're at low, so give him middle finger. On a very solid PG to have, you can make Paladinium Zeal Dragon into Aegis Mire or Keflon, because it has the same effect as Paladinium Zeal. I still think Paladinium Zeal, though, because it came out close to the time of Minerva's OG release. Moving on to our grade 1s that are not PGs, 4 copies of Apple Witch Cider, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard that lets you boost it if your Vanguard's a Minerva in the card name, regardless of its grade, so the grade 3 or the grade 4, you can bounce her to the hand. That ability is a make clause, so you don't have to bounce her to hand if you don't want to. If you want to keep her on board for retire cost, there you go. And then auto and put on Guard Circle. If your Vanguard's a grade 3, get a Regalia. During that battle, this unit gets extra 5,000 shield. So she'll be a 10k shield, which is really great to have. So she's a little bit extra defensive, and again, she can bounce herself back to the hand at the end battle you boost it. But you can also use that skill for discard fodder or send to soul fodder of new Minerva, so that way you can pay the cost with Genesis cards. Either way, though, very solid grade 1. Allows you to bounce yourself back to hand after being a booster, is an extra shield power, and he turns herself into discard fodder, technically speaking. So very solid grade 1 to have. I do like having her in this deck, and she does it all for free, so she's an easy easy 4 of. Moving on, we have 4 copies of Magic of Colored Flame Rahelium. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Very solid support card, of which I've only used once, but it's really good. Auto and placed on rearguard circle other than during the battle phase. If your Vanguard only has Genesis for its clan, counter boss 1 and soul boss 1 to draw a card, and then choose a card from your hand, reveal it, call it to rearguard circle if it's a unit card with the same grade of the Vanguard or less, or discard it from your hand if it's not. So pretty much it's Leonorn, but with 1 extra cost to that. It's not a bad grade 1. You can pull this off technically while you're a grade 1 as well. As long as you have CB, you can pull off while you're grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3 as long as the Vanguard's a Genesis. But typically you don't use this in my opinion because it eases the CB, which you want to use on your restand cost, and it eats into the soul, which again use for restand cost. But if you ever need to like rebuild a board, there you go. And then auto rear guard is about that she boosted. If you have a Vanguard with only Genesis for its clan, put 2 rear guards in the same call master into soul, aka herself and whatever she's boosting, and then choose a card with only Genesis for its clan from your drop zone, put it to hand. So more reasons, like I said, to like run Vivid Rapid just in case for the Genesis clan, so that way you can add it back to hand and discard it or send it to soul via either of the 2 Minervas. But cool, it's a way to recycle any of your Genesis cards. So Vivid Rabbit for guard power, or again discard fodder, Cider for guard power, Micella for, you know, eventually sending her to soul to loop her skill, same with Camilla over here, and then whoever you want out of these 3 for wherever the respective reasons would be. All around, very solid grade 1 to have. Get you 2 soul at once, get your card back from drop zone, and can possibly get you rear guard as well for board renewal, so 4 of Rahelium for me. Moving on, we have 3 copies in the main deck, 1 copy in the riot deck of our final grade 1, Witch of Frogs Melissa. Grade 1 boost to 5k shield, aka base, auto when wrote upon by a unit with only Genesis for its clan. Check the top 5, choose the 2 cards from them, put them into your soul and shuffle your deck. So basically, when you ride the grade 2 on top of the grade 1, you get a top 5 search, send any 2 to soul, which is pretty solid, so it doesn't have to be specifically normal. So if you want to just send 2 triggers, for whatever reason that may be, you can. But being able to send any 2 cards in soul is great. That helps you set up your Melissas for later, your Ciders, maybe your Vinny over here, or Angelica. Typically, that's what I send to soul. Angelica and or Minerva over here to help get grade 3s and soul for grade 3 Minerva. But either way, though, being able to send 2 cards to soul of any grade, of any type for free is just amazing. And then auto and put into drop zone from the soul at any point during either player's turn, as long as your Vanguard's a Minerva, regardless of its grade, call it to a back or rear guard circle, and if you called, you may soul charge. So things to keep you know this. Again, that is at any point during either player's turn. Ideally, you do it during the battle phase after you've already boosted with the units, therefore you can call this thing over a rested unit and then get more boosters. But if you have no rear guards or you're soul blasting during the main phase, for free, you call her out and then you get a free soul charge if you want it. But if you're afraid you're going to deck out or you're afraid you're going to soul charge a trigger, you don't have to soul charge. Melissa is an incredible grade 1. She gets you 2 free soldiers by being wrote upon, and then when she's soul blasted, at any point, she'll just get herself a free superior call, and then she may even get you a soul charge if you really want it. Very solid 3 in the main deck, 1 in the ride deck, great grade 1, and if any of them end up in drop zone, we have Rahelium over here who can recycle it. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Knight of Deity Decree Theus as our first grade 2, grade 2 and set 5k shield, 10k base, auto placed on rear guard circle. If your Vanguard's clan is only a Genesis, check the top 3, choose up to 1 card from among them, put it to soul, and put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. So it sends a free card to soul and then bot decks the rest, so not bad, and it procs off regardless of a Vanguard grade either player's at. It just requires you to be on a Genesis, so pretty solid. And then auto rear guard is about to attack if your Vanguard's a Minerva, again, either grade 3 or grade 4. Soul Blast when retired to choose a card from your hand or drop zone, put it to your soul, and if you put a card from your hand, you draw a card. So pretty much Soul Blast, and then replace the card you Soul Blasted with a card either in your hand or drop zone. If you did end up sacrificing something from your hand, you at least get a draw out of it. Not a bad grade 2 at all, and it can send anything to soul, so it doesn't have to be specifically a Genesis. So if you just want to get, like, for example, Rahelium and soul for whatever reason, you can. And again, if you put from hand, you get a draw out of it. Not a bad grade 2 at all. Love having this card in the deck. Get you possible hand cards, get you soul replacements, and not to mention the fact can get a selective search out of the top 3, so solid 2 for me. Moving on, we have 4 copies of Clear Magic Vinny, grade 2 and a set 5k shield, 10k base. Contains your Vanguard as a Genesis only for its clan. It also becomes a Genesis as well. That procs off as in drop zone, deck, hand, pretty much wherever that ability would proc off, that's where it can do. And then auto, if your Vanguard's a grade 3 guard with Minerva in the card name, this cost may be paid by Energy Blast 3 instead. So when you're on the grade 4 or the grade 3 to procs, when this unit is placed on rear guard circle from the hand, if your Vanguard's a Genesis only for the clan, counter boss 1, or again, if you're a grade 3 / grade 4 Minerva, to do it for Energy Blast 3, to draw a card, choose a card from your drop zone, put it to soul. So cool, recycles any card into your soul. So if you sent a bunch of Angelicas, I did 1 game into drop zone, you can then send them to soul from Minerva skills, that way Minerva's giving the front row 5k. But cool that she also gets you an extra draw out of it as well for only 3 EB or a CB. Only that the second skill is auto rear guard. When your grade 3 guard Vanguard Minerva attacks into anything, regardless of what grade it is, or regardless of what she's attacking into, Vanguard or rear guard, as long as your Vanguard has not stood by a card ability this turn, CB1 stand her and she'll get 5,000 power for the turn. Not at once per turn, so if you put 2 of them on board, they can both restand. It does cost CB, so it can rack that up pretty easily. But on the bright side, extra rear guards, extra 5k, regardless of what grade either player's at, meaning you can pull it off all your opponents on grade 2. Very solid card, initiates multi-attacking for cheap costs, gets 5k out of it, gets you extra hand cards and soul cards for very cheap resources, and considered a Genesis, therefore procs off literally every single card that requires Genesis in the deck, so easy for me. Moving on, we have 4 copies, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck, of our final grade 2 in the deck, Witch of Raven's Chamomile. So grade 2 instead 5k shield, 10k base, all rolled upon by you and only Genesis for the clan. Same as Melissa, check the top 5 for any 2 cards, put them into soul, shuffle the deck. So again, it's up to 2 cards, you don't have to put 2 if you don't want to. If you want to send 2 triggers of soul for some reason you can. It is what it is with Melissa, or it's the same skill as Melissa, so it is what it is, but it's a very solid card in my opinion, because again, it's 2 free soul for no cost at all. And then auto input into your drop zone from your soul during your turn. If Vanguard's a grade 3 of Minerva in the card name, card boss 1 called to rear guard circle. So unlike Melissa, who has to just be put into drop zone in general, regardless of whose turn it is, Chamomile has to be put into drop zone specifically during your turn, because she could be called to front row. But on the bright side, at least she can initiate multi-attacking, even if she costs a CP to do it as well. But it's nice to have both Chamomile and Vinny here, who can both initiate multi-attacking in case you need them to. The only downside is if your opponent plays like a lock deck, onto Cesaria, then you have to play like very specifically with how your board looks to maximize skill effects. But cool, it's Soul Boss fodder, gets you multi-attack only for a CB, not once per turn, so if you have multiple, there you go. Very solid card to have in the deck, 1 of in the ride deck, 3 of in the main deck. Moving on to our grade 3s, we're on 4 copies of Regalia of Wisdom Angelica. Grade 3, Genetic Persona, 13k base. Auto rear guard about that she attacked into anything. If your Vanguard's Minerva, Soul Boss 1, choose one of your Vanguards, get 5,000 power for the turn, regardless of what grade it's at, so grade 4 or grade 3 will both get it. And then also put her to Soul and countercharge 1. So unfortunately, you do have to pay the Soul Blast cost to gain the countercharge ability, but on the upside, if you do pay it, well, at least she's replacing herself. She's getting you a grade 3 into Soul, so again, she'll proc off Omniscience Regalia over here, and then she'll also get you CB back, which can be very helpful for your restand and for your multi-attack combinations over here. So Regalia of Wisdom Angelica, very solid grade 2 to have. She procs off regardless of what grade either player's at. She makes your Vanguard a bare minimum 18k, technically 23k with the Vanguard skill, and she gets you possible countercharge as well, so it's all 4 for me. She also opens up rear guard circles, therefore you can superior call Chamomile open to that rear guard circle that she just made, even though she can be called on top of units, thankfully, unlike half the Ezel cards. Moving on, we have our last grade 3 in the deck, 2 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck of Omniscience Regalia Minerva. So I choose to pay 2 of in the main deck just in case for extra Persona Ride skill, in case you can't pull Ultimate Regalia Minerva. So grade 3 Genetic Persona 13k base, continuous Vanguard circle during your turn. If you have a grade 3 Regalia and its card name in your soul, all your front row units get 5,000 powers. Yeah, as long as you have either a copy of Angelica in soul or Minerva in soul, your front row gain 5,000 powers, so have Persona Ride that procs off regardless of what grade either player's at. Then act Vanguard once per turn. By soul blasting one, you get to check your top card and put it at the top for soul. The thing I hate about this is that if you choose to soul blast and keep it on top because it's a trigger, most of the time it's a critical trigger for me, then you're just kind of losing a soul just to check the top card, which doesn't feel worth it. But I mean, hey, at least it has the potential to possibly replace a card in your soul, and because it does proc off Chamomile and Melissa, if you need ways to set up your board because your hand is all triggers, there you go. And then auto Vanguard once per turn at the end about this, you attack into anything. If your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, counter boss 1, soul boss 3, and dish a card with only justice for its clan from your hand, stay in this unit and lose a drive for the turn. So unfortunately, that ability only procs your opponent's at grade 3 or greater, and it does cost like 3 different costs to do so, but at least Angelica can mitigate the CB, not to mention the fact that the 3 soul can be mitigated by Melissa over here, and they can also turn into Melissa Chamomile combos. But on top of that, that discard's the only real problem with it having to be a Genesis, but we have what? 4 Genesises, 2 Genesises, so 6, 10, 13, 17, plus another 3, so 20, plus another 4, so a total of 24 different Genesises, which is literally 1 card under half your deck. So pretty solid that can like kind of carry away all of that. So cool. It's sad that the ability does require your opponent to be a grade 3 greater, but at least the 5k to front row isn't restricted to that, and that's pretty easy to pull off, and not to mention the fact that it can deck stack for you. So not a bad grade 3 to have it all. 2 of in the main deck for possible Persona Ride case, and then 1 of in the ride deck because main grade 3. As for our final card in the deck, we have all 4 copies in the main deck of Ultimate Regalia of Almighty Minerva. Grade 4, triple drive, 13k base, continuous. This card cannot be ridden other than by this card ability. And opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 greater against all the following. Essentially, you are going to have to superior ride it via its own effect. You cannot ride it by card riding it. So the continuous abilities are continuous Vanguard. During turn, all your front row units get 10,000 power. So I love how this thing being placed gives you a free Persona Ride. So that way, even though you can't Persona Ride on Omniscience Regalia Minerva, there you go. It'll get you more numbers. However, if you do Persona Ride, because this ability still procs regardless if you Persona Ride or not, that means you get the Persona Ride ability from Minerva and then the her skill, which is inherently a Persona Ride. So total of plus 20k to front row is pretty cool. Then act soul, bind an Omniscience Regalia Minerva on the Vanguard circle and put a hand card into your soul and ride this card to stand. And if the card put into your soul had Genesis for its clan, you did not ride during this ride phase, it gets continuous Vanguard, or your front row units get 5,000 power for the turn. At the end of the turn, retire this unit and ride the card bound for this cost as rest. So essentially, this is your way to like kind of find ways to recycle all of your Minervas back into your soul. Ahem, Theus over here. But being able to give your front row 5k and basically be access Minerva in case you do need the extra 5k is good. But again, if you did Persona Ride, well, you get Persona Ride from OG Minerva and then this thing's first skill, which is plus 10k to front row, so 12 plus 20k, or bare minimum plus 15k, which isn't bad at all. And then Auto Vanguard, once per turn when this unit attacks into anything, by counterblasting 1 and solo blasting 3, at the end of the battle, stand this unit and loses 2 drives for the turn. So for a total of quad drive, which is pretty solid. So in total, you have 6 drive checks with Armor Noah, even if you don't have a grade 3 on your board. All around, I really do like how this ability can proc from soul, and we have like 2 different ways to send them to soul relatively easily, and then multiple ways to kind of send it back into soul via other card effects. But I do like how she guaranteedly gives you numbers regardless if you rode or not. Then she can give you even more numbers if you didn't ride earlier in that turn, just to even it out with losing the Minerva, and even can send any card to soul, with the only requirement being she's in soul for the superior ride ability, and her restand skill is a lot easier to pull off because it doesn't require a discard because it's built into the cost to actually ride her. It only costs a CB and 3 soul, and well, she even gets to keep some drive checks. So not a bad grade for it all. Love having her. Loves to bully down the opponent with numbers and multi-attack. Really good with overall consistency, so 4 of. And without further ado, that's it for this one. Hope all of you guys enjoyed. Honestly, this deck is really fun to play. I didn't think I would like Genesis, and I was very dreading the moment of seeing Ultimate Regalia of Minerva, but I really like playing it. I like Vinny being a consistent like restander and resource management. I, for some reason, have found the balance between Chamomile and Melissa spam. I also like Rohelium now. Cider is the weak link, apparently, somehow. And then I just love spamming Minerva's ability if I get the chance, and going into Almighty Minerva is just so fun. So without further ado, I'm just going to hear up. All of you guys enjoyed. Don't like, comment, subscribe, jump switch. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't set up your vanguards.